Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah from PIESNPROSE, and today we're doing a bit of a sit-down video. I'm going to be talking about aesthetics, and the reason why I'm doing this video is because I took a look at my YouTube channel, and I saw that my previous aesthetics video, which I'll link in the description box, was one of my top performing videos on the channel. So thank you so much for watching that video if you did. And so I decided to do a little bit of a revamp, especially because I just recently completely switched aesthetics. And yeah, I wanted to share that process with you. So that's what we're gonna do in today's video. I think this video is going to be perfect for anyone who is looking to create their own aesthetic for the very first time, or maybe you want to do a little bit of a refresh, or if you're trying to go all out and do a complete rebrand, which is something that I kind of did. I will also note that this video is not going to be diving into the technicalities of a rebrand. That is a whole video on its own. That is like a huge topic. So if you do want me to do a video on that, let me know in the comments, but that's not what we're going to be talking about today. And speaking of aesthetics and a brand that is completely 100% aligned with my new aesthetic, today's video is very kindly sponsored by Ana Luisa. So thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this part of today's video. Ana Luisa is a New York City based jewelry company. They are 100% carbon and water neutral, which is super great in the efforts of sustainability, especially coming from a jewelry brand. And they have a ton more sustainable initiatives going on. If you go onto their website, you'll be able to see a whole breakdown of everything that they're working on right now. So I 100% stand by a brand that puts efforts into sustainability. They also have extremely high quality jewelry. I wear these constantly. I wear these daily, and there is no form of wear. And the other thing that I'll say, especially when we're talking about aesthetics here, the aesthetic of Ana Luisa is spot on to what I'm all about. Their pieces are very minimalist, but they're timeless, they're classic. So as you can see, I have a necklace right now on with a tiny little gemstone pendant. I think it makes this crew neck look elevated. I don't know, like if I wasn't wearing the necklace right now with this crew neck, I feel like the fit would be completely different. But I also have quite a few rings on right now. On this side, I have 2 rings. They're pretty much stacked on top of each other. We have a very simple band, and then we have a band with much more details going on, and they just look perfect together. Honestly, they look like they go together, and they're 2 different pieces. So I highly recommend getting pieces that stack well together, that become great combos, because not only are you going to be able to do something cool like this, but you can wear one piece or the other, and it will be a completely different style. And then on this side, I have a much thicker band, which kind of looks great on its own, and then putting everything together, a total fit. Everything just works. So Ana Luisa is having a Valentine's Day sale right now. It is a buy one, get one 40% off, which is actually perfect if you're looking to stack like I do. If you're having a solo date this year, if you're treating yourself to a date and you're being as casual as I am right now, or if you're having a little social event for Valentine's Day, or if you're going upscale and having a formal like date, you can definitely wear these with a fancy outfit as well. I will put the link in the description box right up top so you can grab that really easily. And happy shopping! Let me know what pieces you get. Thank you, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into my process behind switching aesthetics. So I should start off by talking about my old aesthetic. I'll put something on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about, but essentially my old aesthetic was bookish. It was cozy vibes, very book forward, because I used to have a Bookstagram account, and the aesthetic was extremely warm toned. It was heavily filtered, and it was pretty shadowy as well. It wasn't like bright, and I love that aesthetic so much. I had a great time in that aesthetic, and I built that aesthetic and I experimented and came to that specific aesthetic over a number of years. I mentioned that in the previous video where I talk about aesthetics, but it was a long process getting there, and I loved every bit of it. It was such a great time. I have switched things up just as life goes on and my lifestyle changes. And so I've put that old aesthetic aside, and now I have a new aesthetic. I'll put that on the screen now so that you can see the stark difference. This new aesthetic is much more brighter, less shadowy. It's extremely vibrant, and I wouldn't say colorful, but it's not filtered at all. There's no filter on any of these pieces of content. It's not bookish anymore. It's more of a slow, casual lifestyle kind of aesthetic with a focus on slow living and wellness. So two very different aesthetics. There are a bit of similarities here and there, but they are pretty much completely different. So how did I make the switch? I think the very first thing that I should mention, which is actually pretty much on the easier end, is that I started over on Instagram. I made a completely new Instagram account. And I won't say that, you know, abandoning my old account was necessarily easy. It was not at all. I've done a video on this already, so if you want to check that out, I'll put it in the description box. But I'll say it's easier because I didn't have to do any of that transition work that an existing account is going to completely switch up. Instead, I was able to just start from scratch and brand new and take it from there. The next thing that I did was do a lot of research to make sure that I knew exactly what aesthetic I wanted to go forth with. The reason why a lot of research happened before the fact, back when I did my old aesthetic, I sort of had the leeway and the leniency to experiment over a number of years because Instagram and aesthetics in general were just emerging as something new and interesting and popular. So I had a lot of time, I had a lot of that beginning stages time to figure out what I liked and what I wanted to do. Whereas now aesthetics are literally all over the place. There are so many different kinds of aesthetics going on all at the same time, all on different platforms, and so it's a lot harder now to just experiment. I can't just post and then take it from there and take years to experiment. It's more so now where you have to know exactly what you're getting into before you get into it. So that is why there's a lot of research that goes into it, or at least in my case. And the research that I did was essentially, I looked for the keywords that were interesting to me in all of my social media platforms and search engines. So I compiled a bunch of keywords that I personally connect with, such as wellness, slow living, lifestyle, aesthetic lifestyle, things like that. And then I took those keywords and I plugged it into Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. And I went browsing. I went to see what was doing well in that niche, in those aesthetics, what people were doing, what was doing well, what wasn't doing well, and sort of like the big creators in those spaces as well. And I just kept note of everything. I compiled everything into one big subcategory in my Notion account, and it's just a lot of information and research that I always refer to whenever I need a refresher on what it is that I'm interested in and how that applies to my aesthetic. I realize the lighting is starting to get very dark. I hope that's better. Once I got all of that information into my Notion account, I started to pick and choose the things that I wanted to go forth with in my own aesthetic. My aesthetic isn't specific to like a very, very well-established aesthetic on social media right now. I feel like I kind of dwindle in between different aesthetics, which I am personally okay with. I think that's what makes my account unique. But some keywords that you can associate with my account are wellness, slow living, aesthetic lifestyle, that girl. If you don't know what that girl is, you can throw that phrase into Instagram and Pinterest and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Sort of like associated with those things. I will also say that a huge part of my research and just learning about my aesthetic in general and how I created my aesthetic is consuming content from creators who are doing well in that space already, like well-established creators. I watch a lot of creators on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, follow a lot of people, engage with a lot of people, not because I want to copy what any other person is doing online, but I am genuinely inspired by these people and they're creating some fantastic content, and it is genuinely something that fulfills me in life. And so I don't consume content to copy people. I consume content to feel inspired and to feel creative and to feel excited about whatever journey that I'm going on when it comes to my aesthetic. So just want to throw that out there as well. So once I did all of these different things, I literally just dove right into it. I started posting on social media. I started doing some lifestyle changes, some shifts in my lifestyle. And I'm not even joking with you when I say that it was an overnight kind of thing. I really want to manifest a life that I am not only enjoying, but I am also inspired by. I want to live a life that is inspiring. I started making actual lifestyle changes when it comes to wellness, slow living, aesthetics, and then once that happened, I started posting about it on social media. So you'll see a lot of photos on my Instagram account that are quite aesthetic and give off a real aesthetically pleasing vibe, but also an inspiring vibe. And that's not just an act, that is me truly trying to manifest that kind of lifestyle for me. I know that might be hard to believe in this day and age in 2022. Most people just post it for the aesthetic, but I am not trying to do that with my social media accounts. I'm trying to be more genuine. I'm trying to showcase something that is really, really real for me. And so that's a huge part of my aesthetics as well. Of course, not everybody is in it for that. Some people just want to post for the aesthetic, even though that's not their real, like their reality. And that's absolutely fine. It just depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to do with your aesthetic. Looking back at my previous video when I'm talking about aesthetics, I mentioned things like tone and vibe and captions and color palettes and stuff like that. I'll say now in my new aesthetic, color palette doesn't really matter that much. Of course, I still have warm tones and logos and stuff when it comes to like my blog, but that's just for consistency's sake so that you know that you're on PIESNPROSE.com. But color palette does not matter that much on my Instagram feed anymore. My Instagram feed has no filter. I do not use a filter anymore, but I still think that if you look at my feed, it has a cohesiveness to it. It makes sense even though there's no filter going on. And that's kind of what aesthetics are all about. Like, even though my aesthetic right now is to be authentic and real and raw and unfiltered, there's still a cohesiveness in it. And as for tone and vibe and caption, like I said, I've moved away from heavily curated stuff like that. And instead of making sure that I'm always talking about something bookish, I'm always doing like these cutesy aesthetic polls and stuff like that, it's more real, it's more raw. And so sometimes I'll just vent in my stories or I'll vent in my captions, say something extremely authentic and real. I promise you, I am not sharing 100% of my life. There's a lot of me that you don't know still, but I am trying to get as close to realness as possible. And I will also say, I've already kind of mentioned this already, but I will say that this is genuine. Like, my aesthetic is to be genuine, but it's not fake genuine. It's genuine. You know what I mean? I am not pretending to be genuine and then I have a completely different persona offline. Just to get that out there, because I know some people are probably like, yeah, okay, you have a completely different life offline, which, I mean, yeah, I do have a completely different life offline, but what you're seeing online is not fake. Okay, so that is it for this week's video. I hope this gave some insight into switching aesthetics. I think long story short is to experiment, but also do a lot of research beforehand to know what you're getting yourself into. And just, you know, do what feels right to you. It is fine to stick with what you love and you don't want to switch things up. It's also fine to completely switch up if you want to completely switch up, as long as you're doing what you enjoy and you are loving what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that matters. Switching aesthetics, if it's not your vibe right now, if it's not what fits with you right now, is not going to do anything. It's not going to benefit you or anyone else. Have fun with it. And best of luck if you are switching up things or if you are completely starting over. It is an exciting time regardless. Don't forget to snag that sale from Ana Luisa. You do not want to miss out on a sale when it comes to high quality jewelry, especially these gorgeous pieces like this. It's also Valentine's Day coming up. You should treat yourself, even if you have a date or not. The link is going to be in the description box right up top, so you can grab that really easily. It is buy one, get one 40% off. That is all for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in next week's video.